Shalom, family. Good to see you all here. Hope you're doing well. Well, it look like the deadline for the Somalians is coming up rapidly. And the beautiful part is, y'all, so is our Hebrew New Year's. And I just want y'all to see all of the activities that's going on leading up to the Hebrew New Year's because this is very significant. And if you notice, every single year, it's a lot of chaotic things going on leading up to our New Year's. And if you notice, those things are getting worse and worse for the Gentiles. And, a lot of things are coming out, y'all. A lot. I always notice whenever Israel is in the news a lot, I want y'all to start taking notice of one thing. Whenever they headline a lot, it's always questioned about their identity and the fact that they come from Europe and Eastern Europe. And many of them don't really have any ties to the land that they're in. It seems to come up every single time they appear in the headlines, whether it's for war or something going on, or even with synagogues. They took out a synagogue over there, the Iranians did over in Israel. And it just seems like every single time they headline in a big way, their identity is starting to get questioned. Yes, because we are in those times. I was looking at a video last night of a white man. He pretty much put it all out. He said the reason why America is doing so poorly and declining so fast is because you keep denying the fact that the black people are the real Israelites. And as long as you keep denying it and trying to play like it's not correct, the worse it's going to get for America. And I was like, whoa, you know, but you're going to see this becoming more and more in question as we move through 2026 because it really is coming out a lot during this war. At least I'm noticing it. It's definitely something people are talking about. It's awfully strange how these folks are chosen, but they're always in a war, always getting bombed or bombing somebody else. And that is not how the Most High said we would be conducting ourselves. Okay. And number two, how the hell would we be able to do that in captivity? If we are supposed to be in captivity, how would we have access to all these bombs to be bombing all these other lands? That right there should tell you something is wrong. Something is wrong. We would never have access to that because of the conditions that we are in, you know? And right now I'm working on, I don't know if I'm going to be putting it out soon, on the poverty rate in America. White poverty outnumbers black poverty, but their poverty is very different from ours. Ours is really due to racial systemic reasons, and really racism really is the 100% reason why we have poverty in our community. It's really not for any other reason. It's, oh, you're not trying, you're lazy. That's bogus crap. And no, it is all the disparities on us has everything to do with racism, including all of the poverty that you see happening to our people. But their poverty has always outnumbered ours. But because of racism, their poverty is never spoken of in the media. just ours. So it always seems like to anybody that we're just not trying. And it's false. It's a false narrative. It's always been false. How did you build a nation with lazy slaves? It doesn't even make sense. You are definitely by far the lazy ones because you if you came over here and did your own work, you wouldn't be dealing with all of the racism now. So, if you don't want to hear it, that's your fault. That's your forefathers' fault. And the fact that you let this stuff just marinate and you did not do nothing about it, you could have been giving our people reparations a long time ago. And again, this would be a non-issue, but it's always going to be an issue because it's unresolved. But see, our Heavenly Father, He will resolve this whole thing. And when He does, you're going to end up with nothing. And we're going to end up with everything. It would have been much better if you would have made good on everything. But hey, it is what it is. Quantum Solace, thank you so much for the very generous super sticker. So, ladies and gentlemen, the Somalian look like their time is coming to an end. Whenever you have TPS protection, that means you are only here temporarily. And really, technically, all of you that got TPS status, you really don't have a leg to stand on. That means you don't have citizenship. You can't get citizenship. You were only here temporarily because of what's going on in your homeland. So you got to leave. There are no other options for you. And with TPS status, they can pull that temporary status away from you anytime they want. It's not a guarantee that you can be here indefinitely. That's why the word temporary is in there. So if you are here and you are under TPS protection, then when they tell you to leave, you don't have a say in the matter. You got to leave. Okay? You can't even go to court and fight it if they take it away. You can't, there's nothing legally for you to fight for. So it's laughable how the Somalians are asking for reparations and you have TPS status. So you're not in a position to ask for reparations when you have stole billions of taxpayer dollars. TPS, they can throw you out on your ass anytime they feel like it. So, really, if you have TPS status, you are the least protected people in America. All right? You can't fight nothing even if you wanted to. You can't, you know? And he took it away from the Haitians, and everybody is losing it. We are here in March now. That time has come. Your ticket is now pulled. Y'all gonna have to go. You're gonna have to go. So I don't know what all the screaming and hollering you Somalians are doing. Y'all always got war in your land. I went and researched. Y'all always warring in your land. It's nothing new. It really isn't. And I'm sure even after y'all get deported back there, it'll be new wars cropping up over there because that's what y'all do to each other. But the only time you wanna be united is when you're arguing with us. But in reality, y'all ain't even united back home. You're not. So, let me go ahead and we will get started, y'all. See here. Mm, yeah, public. Yeah, here we go. Please give me a 1 if you can see my screen. Thank you.
17th, all of you are being deported.
President Trump saying that he is ending temporary protective status for Somalians. This is going to go into effect March 17th, so they're out. They're not going to get TPS now. Some judge in some district will try to stop this. There'll be a stay. Everything will freeze until the Supreme Court rules on all this stuff because they're going to get the same thing over and over and over. But this affects 1,100 Somalis out of the 78,000 that are in Minnesota alone. Also, you got 1,400 pending. So here's like 2,500 Somalis trying to get in. No, out. Trump says he's done. He also says that they're putting another 2,000 ICE agents into Minnesota, another 2,000 ICE agents in Minnesota as they double down on that. And also, I could tell you right off the record, Kristi Noem is at no risk. There's no plans for her to get ousted. She is there for now. She has the complete confidence of President Trump. Now, asked about the ICE deportations, the president said, look, we're getting rid of a lot of people that are criminals in this country. That's our first priority. And nobody should be upset about that. He said it's one reason that crime is down across the U.S. He said, Biden let him in, and I'm getting him out.
Hi, everyone. The federal government just removed Somalia from the list of countries that were under a temporary protected status. Now, this used to mean that this is a country that the United States deemed it was unsafe for people to return to. But now the federal government is saying that people who are here in the U.S. have to leave by March 17th. Now, I just spoke to members of the Somali community here in Lewiston about their reaction to this update. Here's what they had to say.
I'm very, very disappointed to hear that people who come here to seek protection and for them to deny them those protections. It's really horrible that they are tying whatever is happening in Minnesota, a few cases to a whole, to all these people.
Y'all, see, this is why people don't like the Somalians, the arrogance from these people. So she wants to, focus on the fact that they got to leave, right? And a few, no, it was more than a few. It was more than a few. Damn near 90% of these people were on public assistance, which means they contributed nothing to society. They have taken away from society. And number two, the only reason why you were making it was from the stolen money. Who are you fooling? If 90% of you, they said over 80% of them was not working. So if you're not working, and you're not earning a salary, then where did all this money come from that y'all were living on? It came from stolen money, which means the majority, if 80% are not working, the majority of y'all were living off of that stolen money. You ain't fooling no damn body. It wasn't no few people. It was the majority of you living large off of that money. Because even people that worked and had to do jobs for you said they were wondering how you were getting these big luxury homes and cars and you were on Section 8. Okay? The majority of you were doing this. 80%, I was reading, 80% of y'all didn't even have jobs. They said the men don't do nothing but hang out in the streets all day in groups. That's all they do all day long is just hang out in groups on the streets there. No job, no nothing. But when they get cornered, it wasn't all of it, just a few people, more a few lie. It was the majority. Don't believe this crap. It was only a small percent. It was a lot of them passing that money around and living off of it. All right, let's go on.
It's really inhumane. A lot of the members in this community are really afraid to speak out. If they speak out, people are actually going after them afterwards. Me, myself, after I spoke to a couple of news stations, I have received email threatening and saying, all you Somalis should die, or if you guys die, I don't even want your bodies in our funeral homes. Like, a lot of horrible things have been said, and a lot of people are afraid to speak up.
The clock is now ticking as the March 17th self-deportation deadline approaches for thousands of Somalian nationals who came to the United States under the temporary protected status benefits. With widespread fraud in government programs like daycares, food stamps, driver's licensing, and organized drug rings coming to light, the Trump administration has been scaling back on granting TPS privileges to foreigners. The administration's recent decision to end temporary protected status for Somalia includes a deadline requiring foreign Somalians to leave the country by March 17, 2026. According to the U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services website, the Secretary of Homeland Security can designate a foreign country for TPS benefits if conditions there temporarily prevent its citizens from returning safely. One of the keywords in TPS appears to be temporary, meaning that these foreigners are aware of the likelihood of returning to their home countries. As the United States grapples with a staggering debt of more than $38 trillion that must be paid by its citizens, and low to middle income Americans struggle with the rising cost of housing, supply and demand issues are being weighed as the consequences of an open border are seen in the lack of enough affordable housing for U.S. citizens. According to Zillow, the United States is estimated to have a housing shortage of close to 4.7 million as of July of 2025. A report by the BBC estimated more than 8 million immigrants crossed the Mexico border alone since 2021. The Department of Homeland Security has posted their decisions to end the privileges of TPS for many countries, including Honduras, Somalia, Nicaragua, and Venezuela. Critics argue that this is a GOP power grab intended to prevent the immigrant population from surpassing white nationalists. Supporters, on the other hand, view this as far more than just a routine bureaucratic change. We're at a turning point in balancing the resources needed to protect American citizens while striving for stability in the age of AI.
I don't know if y'all heard, but Trump just ended TPS for Somalis. They got till March 17th to figure it out, y'all. They could either self-deport, which Trump always encouraged because it comes with incentives. I could only imagine how much 1,000 USD could take you in Somalia. You could probably buy a couple of goats. I don't know what they buy out there, but yeah, I know spaghetti and bananas. That's an infinite spaghetti and banana glitch, you know. But about 3,900 of them is impacted by this decision. Yeah, 2,500 with the status, that's going to end. And then there were like maybe 1,400 applications pending, which will be voided because it doesn't make sense to end TPS, but then think about the pending applications, right? Oh, this is the good news. According to the administration, conditions have improved in Somalia. So that's good for Somalia, of course, the country and the people. So conditions have improved. And Christy Noem stated that temporary being the key word, temporary status. So yeah, they're going through with this March 17th. You either could self-deport and get all the incentives that come with self-deportation, or DHS will help you March 17th to figure it out for yourself if you can't make that decision for yourself.
Breaking news this morning, President Trump is ending temporary protected status for Somalia, which will affect thousands of Somalis currently living in the U.S. Somali migrants with TPS will be required to leave the country by March 17th. That's according to a social post by White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt and U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services. Somali people have been at the center of the recent immigration enforcement surge in the Twin Cities after national attention on fraud in Minnesota involving some members of the Somali community. Now, the U.S. has recognized Somalia as being eligible for TPS in 1991. It's often offered to immigrants from certain countries that are impacted by safety conditions like natural or man-made disasters.
When you wake up and find out your temporary status is gone.
Trump administration is ending the temporary protected status of Somali migrants. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem telling Fox News, temporary means temporary.
Yep, that's the definition.
Country conditions in Somalia have improved to the point that it no longer meets the law's requirement for temporary protected status.
Which means you good, boo. You can go home.
Further, allowing Somali nationals to remain temporarily in the United States is contrary to our national interests. We are putting Americans first.
You got till March 17th to get the heck out. But I love how little mama says, oh, no, 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 no. He doesn't have the power to do that. How people think that Trump can't make a call or two before he gets on social media. Yo, I'm just calling to make sure that I can remove this temporary status bullshit real quick before I post this. Yeah? Okay, cool. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, a bill was introduced like a week ago to get these MFs out.
Today, you introduced a bill that would terminate temporary protected status for people from Somalia.
Somalia and also 17 other countries that have people that are here illegally, that have no business being in this country at all, that want to see harm done to my fellow Americans. And what prompted this was the complete derelict of duty that we saw from Governor Walz and what happened in Minnesota. These people, according to my bill, will now have about 180 days to self-deport, and that goes with them and everyone else from the other 17 countries.
Duh. Like, why would you have a law that says you cannot be an illegal immigrant and your punishment is deportation, and then have a law that protects illegal immigrants from deportation? What Democrat wrote this bullshit?
In a major immigration shakeup, Donald Trump and Department of Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem have officially announced an end to temporary protected status, or TPS, for Somali nationals living in the United States. TPS is a humanitarian program that allows people from countries facing war, natural disasters, or extreme instability to live and work legally in the U.S. For years, Somalia has been designated because of ongoing conflict and security concerns. Now, that protection is set to expire. According to the announcement, thousands of Somali immigrants will have until March 17th to either secure another legal status or leave the country. Those who remain without authorization could face deportation proceedings. The decision is already drawing strong reactions. Supporters say it restores integrity to immigration policy.
Trump just ended temporary protective services for Somalis. Here's everything you need to know. They've had it since 1991. They got it because either there was war there or there was famine, and that allowed them to come here, and they've been protected since 1991. By Trump ending it by March 17th, they have to either already be gone by then or they're up for deportation. They could try to opt into different programs if they have any criminal background. That's going to be hard to do. It's important to also identify that they can still come, Somalis, that is, if they're sponsored by a family member, and there's a few other programs, but this limits how many of them can actually come now. It really only affects areas like Minnesota where there's a bigger population of them. But again, it's only, with estimates, 750 to 2,500 people who have actually lost temporary protective services. So it's not a huge number like it was with the Venezuelans. And who else did he end? I think it was the Colombians.
March 17th, all of you are being deported.
President Trump saying that he is ending temporary protective status for Somalians. This is going to go into effect March 17th, so they're out. They're not going to get TPS now. Some judge in some district will try to stop this. There'll be a stay. Everything will freeze until the Supreme Court rules on all this stuff, because they're going to get the same thing over and over and over. But this affects 1,100 Somalis out of the 78,000 that are in Minnesota alone. Also, you got 1,400 pending. So here's like 2,500 Somalis trying to get in. No, out. Trump says he's done. He also says that they're putting another 2,000 ICE agents into Minnesota, another 2,000 ICE agents in Minnesota as they double down on that. And also, I could tell you right off the record, Kristi Noem is at no risk. There's no plans for her to get ousted. She is there for now. She has the complete confidence of President Trump. Now, asked about the ICE deportations, the president said, look, we're getting rid of a lot of people that are criminals in this country. That's our first priority. And nobody should be upset about that. He said it's one reason that crime crime is down across the U.S. He said, Biden let him in, and I'm getting him out.
Hi, everyone. The federal government just removed Somalia from the list of countries that were under a temporary protected status. Now, this used to mean that this is a country that the United States deemed it was unsafe for people to return to. But now the federal government is saying that people who are here in the U.S. have to leave by March 17th. Now, I just spoke to members of the Somali community here in Lewiston about their reaction to this update. Here's what they had to say.
I'm very, very disappointed to hear that people who come here to seek protection and for them to deny them those protections. It's really horrible that they are tying whatever.
Okay, y'all. It's just repeating again. So, yeah, well, their time is out. They are protesting. They're trying to put up a little fight, but at the end of the day, it's a losing battle. And yeah, they may take it to court and get a temporary stop, but inevitable, they're going to have to leave. They're going to have to leave. And they were asking for reparations too. I don't know how you can steal over $18 billion and got the balls to be asking for reparations. That is just laughable to me, you know? But the arrogance, and see, that's what a lot of people don't like. These folks are so arrogant. They really are. So, Quantum Solace, thank you for the super sticker. Also, thank you for the super chat. Immigration law in America was not designed for you to stay 2 or 3 decades in the country. This goes for all immigrants, including white immigrants as well. The political powers failed to follow their legislative ordinances. Yeah, but they always tend to look the other way for anybody except for us, typical politicians, especially the Democrats. Shawnette, believer of the Most High, thank you so much for the super sticker and your support from my channel. Thank you. Yeah, well, they always try to say, well, we're not black, we're Arabs. And yeah, and the Arabs really treat them like doormats. They treat them like the slave class. That's how they get treated. I've seen some of the videos. They don't care about those Arabs, don't care about them. Why do you think now that they are being deported out of here, you don't see nobody from the Arab community standing up for these folks? They are not even trying to intermingle with them. So it says a lot right there. In fact, no other group is standing up for them. A lot of people don't like the fact that they stole taxpayer money, and they're not going to get many people to stand by them. They're not. So, y'all, I'm going to go ahead and conclude. Thank you so much for being here. I do have other things lined up for today. So, there's a lot of Americans that are saying they're skipping meals and not eating all the time just so they can afford their health care. So we're going to be talking about that at 1:45. I hope to see you there. Everybody have a wonderful afternoon. Shalom, family.